For centuries it was sealed, a code hidden within the visions of an exiled prophet, ignored even by the greatest scholars. But now, fragments of this enigma are beginning to make sense. What did Daniel see? How did his words predict events that are only now coming to pass? What has been revealed is poised to shake everything you believed about the year 2025, the lost code of Daniel. Daniel was but a teenager when the gates of Jerusalem were torn apart. The smoke from the holy city rose like a mournful wail in the sky. Babylonian soldiers flooded the streets, dragging the brightest youths as trophies to their enemy empire. Among them was Daniel, a young Jew torn from his homeland and cast into the depths of a pagan culture. Surrounded by sorcerers and magicians, he was subjected to rigorous training in the court of King Nebuchadnezzar, a man of unstable temper and an insatiable thirst for absolute power. The mission was clear: to turn Hebrew minds into loyal servants of Babylon's throne. But Daniel, unyielding, resisted. The storm began with a terrifying dream. Nebuchadnezzar had visions so unsettling that no magician dared interpret them. In a fit of rage, the king ordered the execution of all his wise men. It was then, in desperate prayer, that Daniel received a revelation. The dream showed a colossal statue, a head of gold, a chest of silver, a belly of bronze, legs of iron, and feet of clay, symbols of empires that would rise and fall: Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome. The king, astonished, fell prostrate before Daniel. But awe soon gave way to arrogance. Enraged by the refusal of his subjects to bow before his golden image, Nebuchadnezzar built a furnace of unimaginable heat. Yet inside, the impossible occurred. The men cast into the flames were not consumed, and a fourth figure, like a son of the gods, walked among them. Alone in the night, Daniel began to have visions. Creatures that did not exist on earth appeared before him. A lion with wings, a deformed bear, a four-headed leopard, a beast with 10 horns. He wrote it all down, almost all of it, for there were some visions he was forbidden to reveal. What Daniel saw and what was silenced may still be yet to unfold. The celestial chamber fell silent when the command was given. Daniel sealed these words until the time of the end. What he saw was incomprehensible for his time, but it would become clear in the last days. In his terrifying visions, Daniel saw men crossing the globe at incredible speeds, carrying devices of light in their hands, connected by an invisible network. "Many shall run to and fro," said the angel, and the prophet beheld the chaos. Cities in turmoil, identities shattered, and an exhausted population controlled by screens and algorithms. Science multiplied at an insane rate. Cameras in the skies, satellites watching every corner, artificial intelligences deciding the fate of nations. Chips were implanted into brains, promising cures and evolution, but becoming tools of domination. Then an empire rose. Not with swords, but with eyes. Everywhere, nothing escaped its control. Its command centers were hidden, but its influence was total. No one bought or made decisions without its system. In the midst of this vision, a figure emerged. His hair was golden like fire, and his voice made the mountains tremble. This man was not just rising to power. He was rewriting millennia-old treaties, and in an unprecedented act, he declared Jerusalem to be the indivisible capital of a new global pact. The prophetic words about the King of the North resurfaced. Troops, alliances, and territories began to move like pieces on an invisible chessboard. The crowds cheered, but unknowingly they triggered a sequence of irreversible events. Then Daniel saw it. The year 2025. And before his eyes, a prophetic portal opened. The veil of time was torn, revealing what was once hidden. He fell to his knees, weeping. for he understood the world was walking, blind, toward the abyss. If you like the content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Now back to the video. The waters churned violently, and Daniel saw 4 beasts rise from the sea, each more menacing than the last. They were nations in fury, mobilizing nuclear arsenals and cybernetic armies. The first beast was a colossal bear with 3 ribs between its teeth. It advanced with brutality, swallowing territories from the west and breaking historical alliances. Its attacks came from unexpected places, leaving cities paralyzed. Soon after, a winged leopard appeared. It moved with incomprehensible speed, as if time were not its limit. It represented the unchecked acceleration of technology. Artificial intelligence, autonomous drones, and genetic manipulation escaped all human control. Nations scrambled to dominate this fast-moving beast, but it obeyed no one. Then Daniel trembled. Before him appeared a creature that could not be described. It was pure destruction. With iron teeth and bronze claws, it crushed everything in its path. Economies crumbled, governments fell, and fear gripped the hearts of the people. But from its horns emerged something even more unsettling. A small horn, with eyes like a man's, and a mouth speaking with arrogance. This horn, small at first, grew until it dominated the world. It controlled global markets, data flows, and, most terrifyingly, shaped the consciousness of the masses. People stopped believing. Religion was replaced by absolute devotion to the system. A technological cult had taken root. There were no temples, only screens. 3 kings, opposers to this new order, mysteriously disappeared. No resistance prospered, and the people of God, faithful and silent, were hunted without mercy. Persecutions spread like a plague, but while the world sank into darkness, something moved in the heavens. A tribunal was set, thrones were raised, and the books were opened. The Ancient of Days, radiant in glory, sat in absolute silence. His presence froze everything in its tracks. Nothing moved, nothing dared to make a sound. The books were opened, not books of paper, but records of lives, intentions, choices, every hidden thought, every whispered word, every secret act revealed before the universe. Daniel saw the multitudes. They did not scream, they did not plead, they merely waited. The eternal sentence for each soul was about to be declared. Humanity's time had now become an irreversible countdown. The previous beast was destroyed, consumed by the fire of judgment, but a new threat emerged, even more dangerous, subtle, elegant, with soft words and convincing promises. The world, weary of war and fear, embraced this new figure. It hailed peace. It celebrated unity. But it did not perceive that while it danced, its fate was sealed. Then Daniel heard a number, 2,300 days, mornings and evenings, the final count, and in the end, the sanctuary would be purified. But where was this sanctuary, and how would it be purified? The answer came with pain. Daniel fell, he fainted, the revelation was too heavy to bear. He understood, the judgment was not future. It had already begun, now. While the world distracted itself with illusions, the heavens weighed hearts. The time of grace was growing shorter with every passing second. And then a voice echoed, cutting through everything around. Blessed are those who are found faithful. These words were not comfort. They were a warning. The words of the heavens still echoed when Daniel was taken to yet another vision. The scene had shifted. Now, the earth was in turmoil. The spiritual sentence had been pronounced, but human history still had to fulfill its prophetic course. And then it was said, 70 weeks are determined upon your people and your holy city. The time of Israel's redemption had begun, but it would come at great cost. The world trembled when an embassy was moved to Jerusalem. What seemed like a common political decision sparked spiritual and geopolitical reactions no one had foreseen. The President of the West, Donald Trump, broke with untouchable treaties. Ancient alliances were shattered. What appeared as courage was, in fact, the beginning of a prophesied collapse. The temple, rebuilt with great celebration, became a center of innovation, but technology crossed the line of the sacred. An artificial intelligence system was installed within the holy place. Daniel saw and could not believe it. The abomination of desolation, foretold centuries ago, stood before the eyes of the world, and few understood. Surveillance was total. Every movement of the faithful was tracked, every prayer monitored. Then came the international decree. Sacrifices, public worship, and prayers were banned. The United Nations bowed down. It sanctioned the new system as a tool of global peace. But it was not peace. It was control. It was spiritual slavery. While the West celebrated, the East was inflamed. Nations rebelled, tensions soared, and war erupted on multiple fronts. The role of the United States, once a center of power and influence, was transformed. From protector, it became a symbol of division. Daniel saw the people of God trying to escape, but not all of them succeeded. Abandoned children, torn families, and cries echoing through the mountains. It was the time of the end, and not all would survive. The scene was one of absolute chaos. Wars, persecutions, and desecrations gripped the earth, but what Daniel saw next revealed an even deeper layer, a battle that was not broadcast on screens or discussed in parliaments. For 21 days, the Prince of Persia resisted. A spiritual force, malignant and dark, fought to block the advance of the celestial message. In the physical world, Daniel fasted in silence, unaware that his actions were breaking chains in the invisible realm. Then Michael appeared. The archangel, warrior of the heavens, entered the battle. A spiritual war was unveiled in its clarity. Angels and demons fought for territories, influences, and human decisions. Every prayer, every fast, every act of faith moved forces that the eyes could not see. Daniel alone seemed powerless, but his knees shook the very foundations of the spiritual world. Meanwhile, on earth, deception took shape in tangible form. Holograms of celestial beings appeared in the skies. Drones projected false miracles. Apparitions multiplied, feeding a blind faith. Satan emerged as an angel of light with flawless perfection. His words were sweet, his appearance glorious, but his intentions deadly. Miracles occurred on a massive scale, cures, signs, wonders. The masses fell to their knees. The truth was drowned out by speeches of inclusion, tolerance, and universal love. But everything was manipulated. Prophets who dared to denounce the deception were silenced. Some vanished. Others died quietly, but a remnant arose. Ordinary men and women, faithful, hidden, but filled with power. The final war was unfolding, not with tanks, not with missiles. It was a battle for souls, a clash between eternal truths and seductive lies. And then the heavens opened. Daniel saw it and knew. Christ was about to descend. The vision of Christ descending ignited Daniel's spirit, but it brought no relief. On the contrary, time grew more urgent. The sky was no longer waiting. The prophetic time accelerated, and God's clocks ticked as though each second carried the weight of millennia. Eternity touched the present. And then the first seal was broken. A rider appeared on a white horse holding a bow. He advanced with authority, not to bring peace, but to conquer through illusion. Right behind him came the others. Wars erupted in sequence. Entire nations plunged into civil, ethnic, and religious conflicts. Hunger spread, plagues multiplied, uncontrollable epidemics appeared, defying vaccines and protocols. There was no turning back. The apocalypse was in motion. The persecution of the saints, once hidden, now became official. Laws were signed, Churches were closed. Believers were branded as threats to the new order. Then the earth trembled. A massive earthquake shook the nations. Cities disappeared. Systems collapsed. And amidst the destruction, two men appeared in Jerusalem. They were dressed as in ancient times, but spoke with supernatural authority. Their words shook governments. Their signs paralyzed armies. But they were killed. Their deaths were broadcast live, celebrated by the world. 3 days later, before the same cameras, they rose, they breathed, and ascended to the heavens. Panic erupted, and the beast revealed itself. Now, without disguise, it demanded worship. Whoever worshipped it would be sealed with its mark. Whoever refused would be eliminated. The choice was clear and deadly. But in the heavens, something was beginning. The angels took their positions, and the trumpets were about to sound. The sky, which had once held silence and mystery, now tore open in brilliant light. The Son of Man appeared in glory, riding a white horse, his eyes like flames of fire, wearing crowns upon his head, and a sword coming from his mouth. There was no longer any room for doubt. The judgment had begun. The thrones of the kings of the earth, who had long oppressed the righteous, were torn down and cast into the eternal fire. Justice, at last, triumphed. Modern Babylon, a symbol of global corruption, luxury and arrogance, fell in but an hour. Its markets went silent, its lights extinguished. Those who traded in its impurity wept, but it was too late. Then the heavens roared. Thunder and lightning pierced the skies as the King of Kings descended with his armies. There was no resistance. The beast which had deceived the nations and the false prophet who had manipulated miracles were captured and destroyed. And the world entered a new era. Christ reigned. The millennium began. True peace, true justice. Daniel, now glorified, gazed upon the fulfillment of all that he had seen, all that he had endured. His face reflected eternity. No pain, no doubt. The tears were wiped away. The code of prophecy, once sealed, now stood revealed in perfect clarity. One by one, the names of the faithful were called. The book of life was opened. Angelic voices celebrated each redeemed soul. Then Daniel saw the end. A new heaven, a new earth, no death, no darkness, only light. Forever. History had come to its conclusion, exactly as God had announced from the beginning, and there would never be night again. May I write your name in that book before it is too late. If you've enjoyed this journey into hidden mysteries and biblical stories, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. This helps us bring more videos like this and reach others interested in exploring the Bible. Turn on notifications so you won't miss upcoming content, and share this video with friends who might find it inspiring. We'll see you in the next one.